Good morning, lovelies. Today we are asking the question, what is the difference between paranormal and magical realism? Asking and answering these questions about genre helps readers find the stories that they want to get invested in, and also helps authors find their audience. Which is why classifying genre is so important, even when there's a lot of overlap between the two, as we're about to see today. But before we do that, remember to subscribe to the channel for more videos on fantasy, science fiction, and horror through a feminist lens. And to directly support this channel and keep it going, join us on Patreon. You get early access to these videos, sneak peeks at future videos, and other bonus content. Check that link in the description. So the paranormal genre. I talked about this in my last What's the Difference video where I compared it to urban fantasy. Basically, the paranormal genre is a subgenre of urban fantasy. It takes place in the real world and it uses magical elements and creatures that are directly pulled from folklore, mythos, and religion. So vampires, ghosts, werewolves, psychics, that type of thing. It's more of a setting than a story. For example, my mother's The Undead series is a funny, lighthearted romance story about vampires. 30 Days of Night is a terrifying horror film, also about vampires. Context is everything. Magical realism is also a subgenre of urban fantasy, which also takes place in the real world, but it has a lot more subtle magical elements. Think Pixar, especially the shorts. Almost every single Pixar short is magical realism. Ironically, stories in this genre tend to focus a lot more on the reality part than the magical part. The magic in question will usually be a metaphor for some real-world problem or theme. In the Pixar short Float, a little boy is born with the ability to fly, and his father worries that he won't be accepted by the community because of it, so he stifles his son's uniqueness. It's basically a metaphor for autism. If it's not a metaphor, then the magic will just be a backdrop to a much more relatable story. In La Luna, the moon is accessible by ladder and glows because it collects shooting stars. But the story doesn't focus on that. It focuses on the Cleaners, a small Italian family. Specifically, the young boy who it's the first time he's doing this, and he has to learn to create his own identity rather than just blindly following his father or grandfather. Not to say that paranormal or urban fantasy stories in general can't include relatable themes of family and identity. They usually do. But the premise is usually much bigger and fantastical than that. War between vampires and werewolves, a group of heroes who regularly save the world, teenagers training dragons. The focus is on the magic, or the A-plot. The interpersonal family relationships and love and themes, also those are all subplots. It's not the main reason we pick up the book or go to that movie. The focus of magical realism, however, is on the realism. How does this magical thing affect this person's everyday life and perception of the world? Or even, we're not even going to talk about the magic. It just is. The story is actually going to be on the difficulties of parenting. Magical realism is full of very small, intimate stories, which is why I don't read them. Don't get me wrong, I love Pixar and their shorts, but I just cannot stand magical realism novels. I am sorry. Tell me what genre you prefer in the comments. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and if you can, join us on Patreon. Bye, lovelies!